Okay, très bien. So let's just start the meeting of Forum of Partners, and our first point will be the adoption of the agenda. Dr. Liu, would you like to say something about the agenda?
Well, the document were on the website. This is quite a classical agenda that we have. I mean, we have the report of the last meeting. We have the report of the annual activity report. There will be the STC technical committee report. Then we'll have a time on the strategic plan with the elaboration, the content, and the work that we are starting for its implementation. And then we will have a presentation of Twins Region project before concluding the forum for today. So just to say that the people can react in the chat part, because we are in a webinar form, and if they have some comment, they can post there, and I will be attentive to check what are the reactions.
Perfect. Thank you. So if there are no objections to the agenda is adopted, and then we'll move now to the approval of the report of the forum number 4, which was held in Madrid last year, 11 December 2019. Are there any remarks regarding the report of the forum? Would you like to highlight a few points, Dr. Liu?
Well, no, this document is circulated for a while. Well, it's also factual for the forum, but of course, with the interaction with the attendance, that would be easier. I'm very sorry for that this year. It is very specific.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. So as it is a very factual report, I don't think I went through it. I don't think there should be any type of deep discussions regarding the content. So if there are no specific remarks on a certain point regarding the content, we can consider it as approved and then move to the annual activity report of 2019-2020. And I will ask Mr. Liu to do the presentation of the annual activity report. Over to you.
Well, I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Ouais, je suis vraiment désolé, mais j'ai un problème technique de mon côté aussi. Je n'arrive pas à partager mon écran. Donc,
d'accord. D'accord.
Mes excuses pour ce contretemps.
Non, ce sont des choses qui arrivent. On ne peut jamais être sûr à 100% que tout est parfait. Il y a souvent ce genre d'incidents qui arrivent. Comment voyez-vous une présentation alternative alors?
Essayez de me reconnecter.
OK.
Paul, est-ce que tu voudrais que je partage mon écran, moi?
Je crois qu'il va se reconnecter. Il a dû sortir, je pense. Et c'est une bonne idée. S'il n'arrive pas à projeter son écran, peut-être que vous pouvez le faire. Et il commentera à partir de ce qu'il voit.
Je pense que son nom figure toujours. Hein?
Oui, son nom figure toujours, mais il sait, je crois qu'il cherche à se reconnecter. Oui.
Ce qui est bizarre, moi aussi, il semble qu'on m'entend pendant que j'éteins le micro. On m'entend quand même. Il y a des gens qui disent qu'on m'entend pendant que je ne suis pas en ligne. C'est bizarre.
Oui, effectivement. Effectivement. on va être patient quelques minutes. We'll just be patient a few minutes.
On va attendre encore quelques minutes.
Exactement, exactement.
Ouais, c'est pas grave. Ça va aller.
Il est très intéressant de voir les échanges qui ont été effectués dans la chat box et l'intérêt qui a été apporté aux différentes présentations qui ont été faites. Et ce qui m'a particulièrement fasciné peut être le terme, c'est le niveau d'engagement réel et le lien entre les analyses de type théorique scientifique et les pratiques réelles sur le terrain. Je crois que un espace comme l'initiative 4 pour 1000 permet ce genre de dialogue. Et ce type de dialogue n'est pas fréquent. En général, on a des communautés, entre guillemets, qui ont un internal thinking, mais avec peu de discussions entre les communautés. What is striking in this space of Per1000 is that you have this interaction between scientists and practitioners on the ground and the private sector, civil society, farmers' organizations. So it's a unique kind of interaction which shows a type of governance which is really pertinent to the current context we are living in. I think Paul is back, isn't it?
Yes, I'm back. I hope you can hear me.
Okay. Yes, we can hear you.
Hear you.
Okay, I hope that my PowerPoint will work now.
Video
Hope
works.
so. Sorry. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, if you allow me, I will shift to French. Bien, écoutez, je suis vraiment désolé de ce contretemps. Petit souci technique, j'ai trop sollicité mon ordinateur pendant la première partie. Et donc, du coup, je me retrouve avec des difficultés. Bien, donc simplement, je voulais prendre quelques minutes pour vous faire un petit panorama de ce que nous avons fait cette année au sein de l'initiative 4 pour 1000. Cette année a été riche, malgré les conditions particulières que nous vivons tous. Et la première chose que je voudrais faire, c'est revenir un peu sur la feuille de route qui a été adoptée en 2019 à Madrid, où on nous a demandé de travailler à aider le comité scientifique et technique à poursuivre ses activités, renforcer les efforts de la plateforme collaborative, continuer le travail avec les bailleurs de fonds publics et privés, continuer l'activité en termes de régional, au niveau des organisations de réunion, par exemple. Continuer à participer aux débats internationaux sur la séquestration du carbone dans le sol, poursuivre nos efforts de communication et bien sûr tout ceci à côté des travaux que nous conduisons au sein du secrétariat exécutif. Je reviendrai très rapidement sur l'année dernière, le forum. Certains d'entre vous y étaient. Nous avons pu avoir des interventions de ministres en présence. On était accueillis par le ministère de l'Agriculture espagnol dans des conditions parfaites. Et nous avons eu une introduction inspirante, presque tout aussi inspirante que celle de Finian Make Peace aujourd'hui par Chad Friesman de Drawdown Project, ces aspirations, on en a besoin pour chaque année reprendre notre souffle et faire en sorte que nous puissions poursuivre notre activité et savoir dans quel contexte général on se trouve. Nous avons pu tenir aussi la 5e réunion du consortium avec des décisions qui ont été importantes, notamment en matière de suivi de ce qui était fait par le CST, suivre les activités du bureau qui avaient été mises en place l'année d'avant, demander, et c'est une grande décision qui a été prise l'année dernière, au comité scientifique et technique et au secrétariat exécutif de travailler avec le bureau sur une vision et des missions pour l'initiative, donner son accord pour le lancement d'une fondation si on en trouvait l'utilité, et puis faire un peu le bilan des activités régionales que nous avions eues. Je ne reviendrai pas en détail sur l'activité du comité scientifique et technique, puisque Cornelia RUMPEL, qui est là et qui est la présidente, reviendra plus spécifiquement sur cet aspect tout à l'heure. On peut simplement noter qu'il y a eu une évolution de ce comité avec un changement de personne, mais je sais que Cornelia y reviendra plus en détail, et le consortium a validé 2 de ces nouveaux membres. Parmi l'année écoulée, une des choses que nous avons réussi à faire malgré tout, c'est de pouvoir tenir la première réunion Amérique du Nord de l'initiative 4 pour 1000. Elle était prévue à Montréal le mois de mars, et puis à cause du Covid, ou de la Covid comme on dit en français, nous avons été obligés de la reporter et de l'organiser online, mais nous l'avons faite au mois de mai, et ça a été un franc succès. Je reviendrai demain un peu plus en détail sur les conclusions de cette conférence régionale que nous avons co-organisée avec nos amis de Régénération Canada qui nous aident aujourd'hui à organiser cette réunion en ligne. Le bureau, qui a donc été fondé en 2019, n'avait tenu que 2 réunions cette année-là, et en 2020, ce bureau a été extrêmement actif. Il a tenu en tout 7 réunions, ce qui est considérable, et une des grandes activités de ce bureau a été, outre le fait de valider les nouvelles applications, les nouvelles demandes d'adhésion de membres de partenaires, a été bien sûr de travailler sur le plan stratégique de l'initiative qui nous avait été demandé par le consortium l'an passé. Il a également travaillé, et je reviendrai plus en détail tout à l'heure lorsqu'on parlera de son élaboration. Le bureau a été mobilisé aussi pour sélectionner les 2 derniers membres du CST, on en reparlera tout à l'heure, et puis de préparer les réunions que nous tenons aujourd'hui et demain de l'initiative. Concernant la participation de l'initiative du comité scientifique et technique, du secrétariat exécutif, des présidents à différentes réunions tout au long de l'année, bon, vous avez là, j'ai cité les principales réunions auxquelles nous avons participé. Ce qu'il est important de noter, mais ça vous vous en doutez, c'est qu'à partir du mois de mars, les déplacements ont été impossibles. Et donc, si nous avons pu aller honorer l'invitation qui nous avait été faite de participer au séminaire sur le carbone du sol pour le climat de Nouvelle-Angleterre aux États-Unis, eh bien, à partir de ce moment-là, et du Salon de l'agriculture, toutes les autres réunions se sont tenues en ligne, sauf peut-être quelques réunions auxquelles j'ai pu participer, notamment à Paris, aux alentours du mois de septembre et d'octobre, où on a pu de nouveau se déplacer, mais c'est de nouveau plus le cas, donc beaucoup de réunions en ligne. Nous avons poursuivi les activités au sein de notamment les autres initiatives et les relations avec les autres initiatives et le partenariat que nous avons avec eux, notamment avec le GRA, avec CIRCASA, auquel nous contribuons régulièrement tous les mois. Nous avons participé aussi à l'Assemblée générale du Global Soil Partnership qui s'est tenue encore une fois en ligne au mois de juin. Nous avons co-organisé avec Planète A des agri-talks qui se sont terminés hier, justement, avec une allocution du président de la République française en conclusion, qui ont été extrêmement intéressantes dans le contexte justement de la pandémie et de comment on sort de cette pandémie en étant résilient au bout du compte. Et puis, on a participé tout au long de l'année au groupe de travail que Vera, dont le directeur général a pris la parole tout à l'heure, a mis en œuvre pour travailler sur des protocoles de monitoring, reporting and verification. En termes de communication, nous avons continué à travailler sur la newsletter. Nous en avons sorti 4 numéros cette année. elle est de plus en plus riche, elle est de plus en plus longue. Alors, nous travaillons à une newsletter qui sera non plus une newsletter sous forme de PDF, mais qui va se retrouver plutôt sous forme électronique et plus facile à lire, avec notre nouveau site internet sur lequel nous travaillons beaucoup en fin d'année. J'espère que ça vous plaira et j'espère qu'on répondra mieux à votre attente à ce niveau-là. Quoi de plus? Nous avons beaucoup travaillé aussi avec un graphiste à la sortie de nouvelles infographies et nouveaux graphiques pour renouveler un petit peu les visuels que nous avions depuis déjà un certain nombre d'années. Nous avons fait un gros travail aussi au niveau des réseaux sociaux. Les réseaux sociaux qui l'année dernière étaient encore balbutiants et qui naissaient avec, disons, l'ouverture d'une page Facebook, d'un groupe de travail Facebook, de LinkedIn aussi et sur Twitter. Nous avons pris beaucoup d'ampleur à ce niveau-là. Et aujourd'hui, nous sommes heureux de voir que nous avons de plus en plus de gens qui nous suivent et de plus en plus d'interactions avec ce public qui ne nous connaît pas forcément directement et qui nous le disent, nous soutiennent et nous rejoignent à travers des organisations avec de plus en plus de membres, comme on le verra demain. Nous avons aussi la sélection de certains ambassadeurs qui nous font le plaisir de nous représenter dans les réunions, de parler du 4 pour 1000, qui sont de plus en plus nombreux, et également la création d'une chaîne YouTube sur laquelle nous pouvons retrouver toutes les vidéos que nous avons enregistrées depuis le début de l'initiative, et nous utilisons certaines de ces vidéos pour régulièrement rebondir sur l'actualité, ce qui a été fait récemment pour la Journée mondiale des sols avec le professeur Ratanlal. Au niveau de l'ensemble des données que nous recueillons auprès de nos partenaires et de nos membres, nous continuons à mettre à jour notre base. Nous tenons à jour la fameuse carte des membres et des partenaires qui va prendre un nouveau visage avec le nouveau site. Vous aurez le plaisir de le voir dans quelques semaines. Mais c'est toujours un défi permanent que d'avoir ces activités à peu près à jour. Ce n'est pas toujours simple parce qu'il y a beaucoup de nos membres et nos partenaires pour lesquels nous n'avions qu'un contact et qui, au fil du temps, a disparu. Et nous essayons de renouer avec eux. C'est un peu compliqué. Et nous sommes reconnaissants à ceux qui renouent le lien avec nous quand il a été un peu distendu à travers les mois. Au niveau des accords qui ont été passés, 2 accords cette année financiers avec le ministère de l'Agriculture français, qui, je pense, le dira demain, nous renouvelle sa confiance, comme l'a dit le ministre, en nous soutenant financièrement. On a reçu une nouvelle contribution financière, mais je laisserai le représentant du ministère s'il veut bien le dire demain. Nous sommes en train de signer une convention avec l'IRD pour un soutien aussi qui arrivera en fin d'année, mais qui sera surtout utilisé l'année prochaine. Et puis, fait important, à la demande du CGIAR, nous changeons d'entité hébergeante. Et avec l'accord du bureau qui a validé ce changement, le président du consortium a pu signer un nouvel accord avec l'Alliance, qui est le regroupement du SIAT et de Biodiversity International, 2 des centres du CGIAR. Et c'est cette alliance qui va nous héberger, le secrétariat exécutif, à partir du 1er janvier. C'est d'autant plus important, mais logique, que l'Alliance est aussi le réceptacle du CGIAR qui accueille tous les programmes transversaux du CGIAR et de ses centres concernant les changements climatiques. Un petit aperçu de nos membres et de nos partenaires. On peut voir des nouveaux logos qui sont apparus en bas. Ça aussi, ça va être remis à jour et refait, mais on y viendra un peu plus longuement à partir de l'année prochaine sur le nouveau site. Nous avons quand même atteint un chiffre impressionnant de 550 partenaires cette année, et ça continue de croître. Il y a encore des nouvelles demandes qui seront validées par le consortium demain, et 254 de ces partenaires sont des membres. On a toujours le plaisir d'avoir Dr Ibrahim MAYAKI comme président et M. Stéphane Le Foll comme vice-président. Au niveau budgétaire, j'y reviendrai plus longuement demain. Nous avons eu une disponibilité budgétaire tout au long de l'année 2020 qui s'est élevée à peu près à 400 000 € pour faire court. Nous en avons dépensé un petit peu plus de la moitié. Grâce au soutien du ministère de l'Agriculture français, du soutien du ministère de l'Agriculture espagnol et du ministère de l'Agriculture allemand, nous avons pu avoir des ressources humaines intéressantes avec presque 5 mises à disposition, avec celle d'un demi-poste d'assistant du CIRAD. Ça fait 5 personnes à part entière qui travaillent sur l'initiative, plus Béatrice, qui est notre Resource Mobilization Officer, qui elle, est rémunérée sur le budget de l'initiative. Voilà. Concernant toujours les aspects budgétaires, nous avons pu organiser, comme je l'ai dit tout à l'heure, la première réunion Amérique du Nord de l'initiative 4 pour 1000, grâce à un complément de budget qui nous a été alloué par l'ambassade de France à Washington, qui est compétente aussi pour le Canada, et qui nous a alloué 6 700 €, qui a permis de mettre en place cette conférence. Et donc là aussi, je les en remercie, comme tous les donateurs qui nous ont fait confiance et qui continuent à nous soutenir. Vraiment, c'est très important pour nous d'avoir un budget de fonctionnement qui nous permet de mettre en place toutes les activités et les réunions comme celle d'aujourd'hui. À la fin de cette année, il devrait nous rester à peu près 171 000 € sur le budget 2020 qui aura été mis à notre disposition, et cela nous permettra de commencer l'année en reportant ces sommes pour pouvoir donc commencer 2021. Nous avons poursuivi la sollicitation de nos membres pour accroître ce support financier. Bon, certains de nos membres ont répondu présent. On aimerait qu'il y en ait un petit peu plus. Nous gardons à l'esprit le fait que l'année dernière, le consortium nous a donné une réponse positive pour avancer pour la création d'une fondation 4 pour 1000. Pour l'instant, nous avons laissé un peu en sommeil ce projet cette année parce que le changement d'hébergeur du secrétariat pourrait nous donner de nouvelles possibilités en la matière pour recevoir des fonds de la part du secteur privé ou du secteur public. Donc peut-être un peu plus de souplesse que nous avions avec le CGIAR. Et nous attendons d'en savoir un petit peu plus pour savoir si nous devons relancer ou pas ce projet de fondation. Voilà, petite composition du secrétariat exécutif avec Brigitte Cabantous, qui est donc la personne mise à disposition à mi-temps par le CIRAD, qui m'aide beaucoup pour l'organisation des réunions et de la gestion de la base de données des partenaires et des membres. Paloma Melgayero, qui est mise à disposition par le ministère espagnol de l'Agriculture et qui est notre Science Activity Supervisor. Béatrice Breton-Ascar, comme je l'ai dit tout à l'heure, qui travaille sur la mobilisation des ressources. Et puis, un groupe extrêmement dense de la part du BLE et du ministère allemand de l'Agriculture, avec le soutien cette année et le renfort de Julia Klemm, de Konrad Egenolf et de M. Marc Bernard, que vous avez eu le plaisir d'entendre tout à l'heure, qui sont venus sérieusement renforcer le secrétariat et grâce à qui nous avons pu mener toutes les activités qui ont été les nôtres tout au long de l'année et dont vous avez eu un petit panorama. Mais quand on reviendra à l'explication autour du plan stratégique, vous verrez qu'un travail énorme a été fait grâce à l'ensemble de cette équipe du secrétariat que je remercie. Je profite de cette occasion pour les remercier chaleureusement. Voilà pour cette présentation, Monsieur le Président, je vous redonne la parole.
Merci pour cette présentation du rapport annuel d'activité. As we can see, amidst a very difficult context in which the Secretariat wasn't be all were, we can see that very important achievements have been done, have been met, and the expectations that were framed in Madrid did have a response which was very effective from the Secretariat. So before asking if there are any questions on the content of the activity report, let me, in a personal plan, congratulate all your team under your leadership for what has been done during this year, which was not an easy year. So if there are any comments, they are evidently welcome. Is there any hand raised? I don't see any hand raised, which means that you have collective congratulations. So and we really thank you for what has been done, the passion, the commitment, and the sense of results. So now I will move to Dr. Cornelia RUMPEL for the activity report of the Scientific and Technical Committee in 2020. Over to you, Dr. Rumpel.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Mayaki. I'd like to share my screen also. Right. Okay, can you see?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Yes, so I would like to give you the activity report of the Scientific and Technical Committee of the 4-per-mil initiative with its 14 members. So first of all, I would like to draw your attention on the fact that 4 members retired. Martin Koronga from Zambia, Ibrahim Saudi from Morocco, David Whitehead from New Zealand, and Magali Garcia Cardenas from Bolivia. And with the help of the Bureau, we appointed 4 new members, Budiman Misnasni from Australia, Saidou Sal from Senegal, Dr. Fuentes Espinosa from Chile, and Dr. Varela Ortega from Spain. And in particular, we aim to maintain gender and regional balance while increasing some competences that were missing, in particular with regard to the socioeconomic themes which are treated within our committee. So because of the COVID, of course, we were all confined. So we had 2 virtual meetings in June and November 2020. But this was really very challenging because of the large geographic dispersion of the committee. So we had splitted our meetings from time so that people from South America and from Australia, they had not to stay up all night to participate in the meeting. So this was really quite challenging, but I think we succeeded quite well in having productive meetings still. So what did we do? We provided expertise at the science political interface. We participated as authors and also reviewers in several documents, for example, the technical manual on soil organic carbon management, which was written by the Global Soil Partnership. We participated in the GSOC MRV protocol. We helped to review the technical specifications and country guidelines for the GSOC sequestration potential map. And we also reviewed the protocol for the assessment of sustainable soil management practices. With regards to the UNFCCC, you know that they have these Cornelia workshops, which are postponed to 2021, because we will not have the COP this year in 2020 either. So there are 2 Cornelia workshops where we participated with submissions. The topic on livestock management and also the socioeconomic and food security dimension of climate change in the agricultural sector. Here we participated with several other research organizations in giving our views on these topics to promote the soil organic carbon sequestration. So we organized, or we helped in the organization of a webinar. It was the MRV in Finance for Soil Carbon webinar, held on the 10th of September this year. So I put you the link to the webpage. So this webinar was co-organized by CCAFS, the Nature Conservancy, 4-per-mil, the World Bank, and the Meridian Institute. And the purpose was to support investment-oriented actions promoting soil health and carbon storage by improving the accounting of soil carbon sequestration. And so this webinar was to answer just a simple question: how can soil carbon accounting improve to support investment-oriented actions promoting soil health and carbon storage? And so this webinar had really a great success. There were 1,000 participants registered. The STC also helped to define the strategy and the outreach of the 4-per-mil initiative. In terms of the strategy, we participated in the Delphi study and provided scientific advice concerning the vision, missions, and objectives of the initiative. In terms of the outreach, We launched the initiative we helped to launch the second call for formative project assessment. And we had 14 Lensch responses. So there were project holders from 14 land management projects from different regions of the world submitting their projects. And these projects were assessed by the STC members, and we provided scientific advice. We also participated in the organization of a 4-per-mil introductory workshop in Latin America and the Caribbean, which will take place online on the 16th of December this year. And these actions have been done to inform and gather multi-stakeholder consortia to develop these 4-per-mil projects and also to attract funders. We participated as STC in resolving the 4-per-mil scientific controversy by reframing 4-per-mil goals, and also by the identification of barriers and solutions concerning soil carbon sequestration. These views of the STC were published in 2 papers this year, which came out in Ambio. So it was one full paper, and we received a comment, so we wrote a response. And we also participated in a consensus paper of the scientific community that came out of the 4-per-mil conference that was organized with STC input in Poitiers, France last year, and where all the scientists of the soil organic matter community met to discuss these controversial issues, and we came up with some strategy for global scale soil climate mitigation by improving soil organic carbon management strategies. To identify region-specific practices, sustainable agricultural practices to increase soil organic carbon, we are at the moment organizing a special issue in the journal Regional Environmental Change. So we made a call for contributions, and we received 41 intentions to contribute to this special issue from 5 regions of the world, from America, Africa, Asia, Oceania, and Europe. So the scientists from these regions, we asked them to submit papers concerning management practices in these regions that are scientifically valuable and that should be promoted. And so the deadline for this special issue is over. Late submissions are, however, possible. And at the moment, the STC members are busy with handling and reviewing manuscripts, and the expected publication of this special issue will be summer 2021. So this is an important knowledge gathering step, and is done in synergy with the GSB practical manual on soil organic carbon management, which will come out next year. And it highlights the region-specific conditions and the potential for appropriate actions in these specific regions, which have to be adopted. So we also contributed to the discussions of actions in relation to the COVID-19 crisis, because food production should be based on healthy soils and agro-ecosystems with high biodiversity in order to limit the risk of pandemics. And we suggest that really soil organic matter as the link of climate change, food production, and biodiversity is really necessary also to ensure good health of the global population, and that sustainable agricultural practices leading to improved soil organic matter management are really essential to achieve this game. And so to introduce this importance in this more in the scientific community, we applied and obtained the oral presentation at the American Geophysical Union meeting in December. So our action plan for 2021 is to participate and give scientific advice in this Delphi study of the 4 per mil initiative. We will elaborate a strategy to publish the results of the study. We will write opinion papers, finalize the special issue, and update criteria and indicators to improve the project assessment procedure. We also would like to identify, first of all, update the research priorities in synergy with this CIRCASA project that finished now. And we will identify the best projects submitted to the last 2 project calls to give a recognition in form of a prize to these best projects to promote the 4 per mil actions. We will continue to work with the Global Soil Partnership, and we will participate in the Cornelia submissions and organize regional and other scientific and technical meetings around the 4 per mil initiative. So special thanks go to the scientific community, to the stakeholders, project holders, the farmers, the bureau members, Paul Lulu, and the Executive Secretariat, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rumpel, and thank you for all the work which has been done, and for the deployed, demonstrated competence and commitment once again, really. And when we look at the action plan for 2021, we see that you are ambitious. So that's a very good sign. So thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So now we'll go to the presentation of a strategic plan, which will take us some time, which will be made by Dr. Liu. And he will refer, there are several segments as I see, elaboration and content of a plan, that's okay.
Entonces, hay varios segmentos.
Okay, estoy escuchando la traducción que se está dando, pero okay. So, Dr. Liu, I will hand over to you for a presentation of a strategic plan. And then Marc Bernard will go over the work to be done for its implementation before I come in for comments and discussions. So over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayaki. So I will share my screen, and yes, I will have the pleasure to share this time with Marc Bernard, and he will explain to you more where we are after the validation of this strategic plan. Permettez-moi de reprendre en français, comme ça on fait travailler un petit peu nos amis traducteurs, que je remercie d'être avec nous encore jusqu'à cette heure tardive. On est largement au-delà du temps qu'on s'était imparti. On va essayer de ne pas trop grignoter au-delà de l'heure que vous nous accordez gentiment. Donc, le plan stratégique de l'initiative a été demandé par le consortium des membres l'année dernière à Madrid. Et ce plan, nous avons commencé à l'élaborer dès le début du mois de janvier par une réunion du secrétariat. Marc, d'ailleurs, Bernard, qui est en Allemagne habituellement, nous a rejoints à Montpellier avec Paloma et d'autres pour pouvoir permettre de lancer ces réflexions. Et durant ces quelques jours intenses de réflexion, nous avons commencé à mettre les bases que nous avons proposées au bureau, qui était la version 0.0 et qui contenait essentiellement la vision, la mission, les principes généraux et l'ambition qu'il pouvait y avoir derrière ce plan stratégique. Avec l'aide des membres du bureau et des collèges, il y a eu plusieurs itérations avec les membres de l'initiative pour recueillir leur avis, leurs commentaires sur le travail qui était lancé. Et c'est ainsi que de la version 0.0 à la version 2.0, qui est celle qui a été validée par le consortium, il y a eu 3 versions intermédiaires Oui, et les 3 versions intermédiaires, excusez-moi, cela fait en tout 5 versions en 4 mois qui ont été examinées par le bureau, travaillées avec le secrétariat exécutif et les membres. Et donc finalement, le 29 mai, nous avons lancé pour une quinzaine de jours un vote électronique pour permettre aux membres du consortium de se prononcer sur ce plan stratégique qui a donc été validé. Alors, je ne vais pas revenir dessus très en détail, mais je vais vous donner l'essence de ce qu'il y a dedans. Ce document est bien évidemment disponible sur notre site Internet et il recoupe surtout une mission, une vision qui est très importante, qui nous mène à 2050 avec a worldwide healthy and carbon-rich soil to combat climate change and end hunger. C'est une vision très forte qui a été saluée d'ailleurs par les champions qui travaillent à la préparation de la COP26 pour Glasgow et qui ont dit que vraiment c'était important d'avoir cette vision en tête pour pouvoir poursuivre nos activités et donc ils saluaient la qualité de ce travail. Je ne reviendrai pas sur la mission, mais c'est extrêmement important. Elle permet de condenser un peu ce qu'on va mettre derrière cette vision et le plan qu'on est en train de préparer. Ce qu'il faut savoir, c'est que cette initiative repose aussi sur des principes généraux. Le premier d'entre eux est que nous plaçons au centre de l'action la santé des sols. Que les agriculteurs et les forestiers sont les acteurs clés du travail et que c'est eux qui feront le travail, donc il faut absolument qu'on les valorise et qu'on les mette au centre. Une chose importante, c'est que tout doit se faire dans le respect de la tenue foncière. Ça a été dit pendant le segment de haut niveau, mais c'est extrêmement important si on veut que les gens fassent des choses avec leur sol, il faut qu'ils soient sécurisés sur leur terre. Autre chose extrêmement importante, c'est que ce que nous lançons et ce que nous faisons doit être orienté et basé sur la science. C'est important de le dire et de le rappeler. Et grâce au comité scientifique et technique de l'initiative, qui est multidisciplinaire et qui est international, nous avons cette base scientifique dont nous avons besoin. Un autre principe important, c'est que ce n'est pas le secrétariat exécutif qui fait le travail, contrairement à ce qu'on pourrait le penser, mais il est là pour faciliter et organiser. Et ce sont aux membres et aux partenaires de faire ce travail de façon volontaire pour la mise en œuvre de ce qu'il découlera de ce plan d'action, de ce plan stratégique, à travers le plan d'action. Un des principes généraux qui nous guide, c'est que bien évidemment, nous privilégions la collaboration interinstitutionnelle, que nous avons une approche pluriacteur qui travaille sur une coopération publique-privée en ayant un support mutuel entre les acteurs, la notion d'open access, d'accès aux data aussi est important, libre est aussi importante, et l'allocation optimale de ressources, incluant bien évidemment ceux qui sont à la base du travail, c'est-à-dire les agriculteurs et les forestiers. Enfin, une capacité d'apprendre et de réagir, de s'adapter, d'avancer dans un esprit d'équipe qui est extrêmement important pour avoir toute la flexibilité disponible pour conduire ces actions et mettre en œuvre ce plan d'action qui représente quand même des défis complexes. Bien sûr, on ne peut pas ne pas prendre en compte l'égalité des genres et la place des jeunes et des minorités ethniques au sein de l'ensemble de nos travaux. Ce plan stratégique est organisé en 6 grands buts qui vont de A à F, chacun étant associé à une action majeure, hein, comme on peut le voir, tout ce qui est conceptualisation, mise en œuvre, promotion, collaboration, suivi, et puis des actions qui sont des actions transverses, avec pour chacun des objectifs qui composent ces buts, une description, mais aussi un point de départ et des cibles à 2030 et à 2050. Alors, on a regroupé dans ce schéma qui ressemble un peu aux anneaux olympiques les 6 buts majeurs du plan stratégique qui sont composés chacun d'un certain nombre d'objectifs. Donc là, au total, nous en avons 24 avec au centre donc les actions transversales qui regroupent 3 de ces objectifs. Voilà, j'en ai fini pour la présentation générale de ce plan stratégique. Vous le retrouvez en français, en anglais, en espagnol sur notre site internet. Et je cède la parole maintenant à Marc pour vous expliquer à partir de là, que faisons-nous, qu'avons-nous commencé à mettre en œuvre et où cela doit-il nous mener?
OK, bon, vous pouvez me permettre de partager mon écran? Je peux pas. Je suis pas autorisé à partager mon écran. Ah, d'accord, merci.
Non, maintenant. Maintenant,
Très
c'est
bien, merci beaucoup. Je vais aller à ma présentation. Vous le voyez? Do you see my screen? Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, the second presentation of today. Now, we heard a lot this morning about what needs to be done in this, and now we really pushed hard to get things done on the ground. Yes, but it needs to be planned. So to provide a supportive framework and action plan is the mission, is the central mission of Cap Per1000. I'm just going to tell you a bit how this looks like. So I have four main questions that I want to answer with this presentation. First, I would like to share with you how we are organized so you get a better idea of where we stand. What are the main actions that we're actually carrying out? What do we exchange? How do we exchange and collaborate? So just to tell you a bit how we operate in daily life and with our partners. And how do we elaborate the implementation strategy, which we started now? How do we actually get from a strategic plan to an implementation strategy that will direct projects and activities on the ground? So how are we organized? Now, first of all, you're all aware that we have a forum, and a big part of the forum members are also in the consortium, which has the power to decide. We have, of course, the Executive Secretariat, we have the Scientific and Technical Committee, and since last year, September 2019, we have the Bureau with representatives of these three entities that meet regularly. Polls held 7 times last year to give major orientations to the direction of the initiative. Now, starting from when the strategic plan was adopted in June, we asked ourselves, how do we start work on these 24 objectives, and how do we actually reach the targets we've set? And we said, listen, let's call upon the forum and our friends and ask them to join task forces, which we created around the 24 objectives. So we launched a big campaign and we got a high turnout. So we have now 319 experts around the world from different organizations that actually joined these task forces. So that was a major new block of action, which was very much positively responded by all members of the forum. An important point that we're working on, as he said, we're not really doing things. We're doing, we need support. We're organizing things, we're looking for synergies, and we're building partnerships. Now, of course, an important partnership is the one with the Alliance of Biodiversity in SEAT, where the Secretariat will be hosted starting next year. Another important alliance or partnership is with AFRIS, the African Innovation Services. They're providing the electronic platform. They're based in Benin, and they're making sure that we have a cutting-edge electronic support system that facilitates all communication and documentation and exchange in real time. Now, an important partnership which is now just emerging and which we're working hard on, Konrad Egenolf, me, and the team at PLE with GIZ, they have complementary activities, and they saw what we're doing. We're working for several years together, but they came up with the idea of a community of practice, which basically are professionals that implement projects on the ground. It's not the one doing the projects, but the ones organizing the projects that will bring along change. And they looked at the model of the strategic plan. They looked at the task force and said, listen, let's do a few workshops together and try to organize this community of practice. So this really becomes very big. And this is a bit a model of what we would like to see from this audience now, to build such partnerships, just to allow synergies. So GIZ invests, but they get a network, they get an electronic platform, they get a platform to present their work, and it's really win-win on both sides. So I think this is an encouraging example where we should go to mobilize the support we need to turn all these ideas into action. Now, they are the ones doing the projects and action teams. Now, what we're looking, and we had the GSP this morning with us, and I think that's quite encouraging. I would love to see that we have this in our outlook tomorrow, our roadmap for 21. I think we need regional councils to make sure that we tap fully on ongoing regional programs and specificities that are in different regions. And I think we need some kind of decision bodies in decentralized mode. And I think we're not going to do this alone. I think we will need basically, partnership with FAO and the GSP to develop these regional councils and avoid duplication, but making sure that whatever action is taken also contributes to the NDCs of these different countries. Now, presently, I'll just give a few figures. These are figures that give you a size of our network. It is clear that NGOs, 33% of our member organizations are NGOs. See a few figures. Then the regions, the biggest region, most of the organizations come from Europe, but it has decreased. We have an enormous increase now, especially in Northern America, but Africa is quite good represented, and to a lesser extent, Latin America and Asia, we're starting. But I think it clearly indicates there's some work to do. And this again points to this importance of getting regional initiatives going to get to a more balanced picture. Yes, good. What do we do? What are our key activities? First of all, we provide a platform where we can meet, share, learn, and collaborate. The second, of course, advocacy. We're participating in a large number of events throughout the year. We're organizing events for specific topics. Strategy development, very important. So the first one was a strategic plan that Paul already presented. The implementation strategy, which is under development now. And then, of course, the most important ones are the action plans and projects that will start once we have developed the implementation strategy. We'll start with the action plans and project proposals in March 21 onwards. I hope this will be a speedy process. And of course, we will involve everybody to massively work out these plans and to provide bankable projects, which was mentioned several times this morning. Promotion is an important thing. Building partnerships for solidarity, I think I talked about this already. And monitoring dashboard, we will develop that. That's the last of our objectives. It's the F3 objective. We'd like to have a dashboard that actually allows everybody to see where are we with soil health, soil carbon action sequestration actions worldwide, what are projects that are going on, and having a map or a dashboard that gives a bit of statistics, how is the movement going forward. An important thing is generating ideas and to encourage and overcome barriers. One I will present a bit later, the twin regions. I think sometimes we're just faced with very difficult situations. We all see that the situation is dire, it's critical. And sometimes you might, you're just running out of ideas, and we really need out-of-the-box thinking to overcome these barriers, yes, which are very much systemic. And I think our president also pointed to this, that it's not enough paradigm shift. We need a system change, and this needs just new ideas. And I hope this afternoon later to present the Twin Regions project, which is one of those, but we hope to get more ideas in. How do we exchange and collaborate? We have the platform. I think many of you have seen it. It's really cutting edge. It is a tool which is excellent. It allows to really, it boosted our work enormously at the Secretariat. And AFRIS is really providing a great support. We have 900, almost 1,000 users on it, 550 organizations, 70 different team spaces organized in 8 categories. The electronic platform, of course, the Confluence Wiki is at the center. We have a chat, a Rocket Chat that we're using very effectively, video chat and cloud file server, and dedicated for us. And basically the idea is reduce mail traffic. It's very important. Find everything in one place easily, and to share information in real time. So as we speak here, Conrad and Julia are taking notes, and we can even see them immediately after the meeting. So we don't have to write up and down mails and asking for updates. How do we exchange and collaborate? Implement the strategy and partnerships. Now, the role of task forces is really elaborate and implement implementation strategies for achieving objectives and reaching targets. The second, invite other partners to join. The third, mapping of ongoing actions and projects. Initiate the formation of project teams to develop and implement actions and project plans. Lobby for support. Monitor progress. And advice to the community of practice and other interested stakeholders. Though that is a bit a generic role of the task forces as we have defined it. The purpose of an implementation plan. Really, we want to have a solid plan which is trustworthy and which is a convincing document that is a useful reference for investments and decision making. So it should really be something which is also helpful to structure our interventions and to monitor our interventions. I think a last point, how do we change this? I've already talked about this, is brokering these partnerships as we did with. I think we'll continue strongly on that one in 2021 with everything we have achieved. I think it's now high time that we go towards partners and invite partners to join and to join forces and push this thing forward. How do we elaborate the implementation strategy? Now, with the number of people we had, and with the handicap of not being able to meet physically, I said maybe this is an opportunity, and we came up with the idea to use the Delphi method. I think to some of you it might be known how this works. In fact, it is consensus building based on experts' opinion. And what you do is we send out 5 questions to all 319 task force members, and we ask them to answer, what is the problem of the objective on which you have on which you're working? What are the causes behind these problems? So a better understanding and a common understanding of the problems that we're addressing with each objectives, and what are the underlying causes of the problem, and what are the consequences and the effects of these problems. So that we have a common understanding. And then the 3 other questions, it's more really for the implementation plan, which is basically consists of critical success factors, barriers, and what activities do we have to invest in order to reach the targets and achieve the objectives. Now, so we have a round 1, we ask people to provide these answers, we summarize feedback, and in round 2, we bring back a summary of the feedback and give the experts the opportunity to revise their first input and to take on board opinions that they learned from others. So it is really to see this, no, there were other guys out there, they're intelligent and good proposals. I will adopt this and I adopt my, so we get to a better, so each one of us has an opportunity to improve his response to his original response. The third round is then consensus building. So we have a list of responses for each of these questions, and experts will now score from 1 to 9. How important is this response as compared to the other responses? And we evaluate consensus. If the mean is below 5, we exclude the response because we say it is not for everybody interesting, so it has a low mean. If the mean is greater than 5, but the interquartile range is greater than 1, so we have a big variation between the responses, the scoring, we ask the experts to revise their scoring so we can narrow down the scores and come to a value which is below 1. And these then are the responses that we will consider in the development, in the writing, editing of the implementation strategy. So it's actually very scientific methods of going forward and bringing all the heads together and all the collective know-how and expertise that is in these 316 heads. Now we're very happy to see we have an enormous turnout. We have 116 experts that have contributed, which is enormous. If you look at the different colleges, we have a very equal distribution. It's always between 30 and 30%. So we're very pleased with the results. We don't have only experts from research, but we have many experts from the other colleges, at least in percentage-wise. Now, if you look at it, we have in total, so each answering these 5 questions is not easy. And we appreciate a lot the inputs that we got from the experts, but we got 191 studies done in a period of 1.5 months. So that's incredible. And of course, we have 4,500 responses to trade. We're working on it, and we're quite confident that we'll send out the first summaries just right before the end of this year. So that's my aim. And then go to round 2 and ask people to revise their first answer and make a step forward. And then having finalized it somewhere, the implementation strategy somewhere around end of January, early February. Now, thank you so lot for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mark. And in synthesizing and, well, going into the details of implementation strategy. We don't have much time. I beg apologies to the translators because I've been a very bad time manager, and we are running out of time, and they are exhausted because they went beyond what was planned. Anyway, 2 quick comments. The design of a strategy was highly consultative, and the design of the implementation mode of a strategy was very consultative, which allows us from the vision, the mission, and the goals to move towards a governance system for the implementation based on these 24 task forces and the community of practices, and looking at a consensually framed implementation steps. So I think this has to be enhanced and recognized, and it will absolutely, the way the governance of implementation has been designed will allow us to have greater visibility when implementation takes place. So if there are no other comments and on this part, let me move to the Twin Regions project. And Mark, you have 1.5 minutes.
Give him 5 at least.
Okay.
That's his baby.
The translators give you 5.
Yes.
Okay.
First of all,
you have 5.
Would you mind to put on my camera?
Yeah.
I cannot. I was just told that I'm not allowed to switch on my camera.
Yeah, you
Okay,
are.
thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, somebody told me. Now the Twin Regions. It is my baby, and I cannot do it in 5 minutes, but I'll try as good as I can. I think we have talked a lot about the problems of the dire situation and what we need to do. This is now really a recipe for survival that I'm going to present. It is really about global solidarity to unlock the potential for regeneration. I put this, and I think it's worthwhile the 5 minutes, at the same level as carbon certificates, carbon tax, or other mechanisms. It's a very powerful mechanism to really mobilize resources that we need. So the situation is hundreds of billions of tons of carbon that must be eliminated. That is just, we have to do it.
Mark, can you share your screen or not?
I could share my screen. Oh, sorry.
Because it's nice to see you, but
yeah, no. I'm sorry. Sorry. No, that's really, that was a bit of confusing. Do you see it now?
yes.
My problem is I have a problem with, oh yes, good. So this was the first slide. Yes, a recipe for survival. And it is an idea which I started thinking about in 2019, and then I got the idea really at the Madrid meeting. I had this idea. So the situation really, we have hundreds of billion tons that we have to eliminate. Despite all the expressions of intent, efforts at national and international level have failed to halt the life-threatening development. And I very much share the sentiment of our colleague from New Zealand this morning. Problems that prevent change, of course. First of all, we don't want to acknowledge that CO2 kills. Why do we not invest in CO2 disposal as we do with waste and wastewater? We're spending 40 billion euros every year here in Germany to burn trash. So just to tell you a bit, and we're not doing even a percentage investing into CO2 emission disposal. Low perception of urgency. I think many people still think it doesn't affect me. Question of fairness. I think many people think it is not fair. How do we distribute the burdens? Conflict of interest, of course, is a big one. Yes, we don't want to change our way of life. And feeling of powerlessness. Many people express, listen, what can I do as an individual? Now, the justification. Decision makers who have to balance interests are finding it difficult to provide a satisfactory response to justified demands of initiatives such as Friday for Future, despite all sympathy. We believe that an approaches that enable citizens to act independently and self-determined and promote their international solidarity are essential for solving the climate crisis. And the third point is present discussions about solutions is too technology focused and too little on the solutions for transforming our way of life that is causing climate change and immense suffering. Good. Now the purpose is introducing a new mechanism, contributed to rapid and substantial reduction in atmospheric CO2, address the above mentioned issues that I just described, and contribute to the solution of pressing societal and environmental problems, not just climate change. Now, what is a twin region? The twin region is a pair of complementary localities in terms of emissions and carbon sequestration potential. It is essentially, the potential is essentially determined by the area and the potential to increase biomass production. Now look at Sinandé in Benin, West Africa. This is a satellite image, and you see below a bit how people are living. Nice place. After Germany, this is where I'm living presently, a different place. Now, if you look at the statistics between the two, the area about over 200,000 hectares in Sinandé, only 3,400 in Alfter. If you look at population, it's the same, but if you look at per capita emissions, 0.4 in Sinandé per capita and year, tons of carbon dioxide, and 12.5 where I live, including myself. Together, we would have an average of 2.9. That would be already a step forward. The total emissions, about 40,000 for the 91,000 people living in Benin, and about 300,000 for the people living in Alfter. Estimated carbon capture potential, because of the area size and the biological situation and the ecological situation, we have almost 1 million tons that we could harvest every year in Sinandé. But we could only harvest about 15,000 tons here in Alfter if we do our very best and produce 2 additional tons per hectare. Now, GDP is completely different. It is 1,000 in Benin, people are poor, and 45,000 here in Germany. But as Mayaki already said, GDP is a stupid measure of happiness and wealth. So I think, but it becomes clear that the two communities are very complementary. So what they do, we tell them, listen, join and go together to achieve carbon neutrality. Invest your 45,000 in the south to sequester this carbon. These people in the south don't have the money to buy the inputs they require to actually increase their biomass production. So together you try to balance it to 2050 and then work on your carbon debt from the past to get it out of the air. And that for doing this, you would actually pool your social, cultural, financial, natural resources to develop the necessary solution that take into account the local conditions. So it would be very much a locally driven initiative, combining the two. So this is a bit, you know, all these statistics. If you look at this, it's quite interesting. Germany is producing as much carbon as the whole of Africa, just to give you. So for those who are familiar with Gauss, 1 + 99, 2 + 89, so it always gives 100, so you can actually match communities across the globe to build these complementary communities. The citizens in rich countries will focus on solutions to reduce emissions and to support carbon sequestration in their partner communities. The citizens in poor countries will use innovative land use technologies to combine increased carbon sequestration with sufficient food production. A solidarity pact will compensate twin regions that are disadvantaged or affected by climate-related disasters, which will become more and more frequent. We hope that this will trigger an ancient cycle leading to environmental, economic, social, and cultural development that ultimately benefits everyone. So sub-Saharan Africa is the region with the highest carbon capture potential, at least if it is about land. Müller from JRC produced a summary in 2012, and he concluded that in Africa, average, we only achieve 25% of the potential yield that we can get. So there's 75 potential. We can produce 4 times more, at least on the cropped area. If you look, one of the principal causes for this low level is phosphate availability in Africa. So, and if you really see the phosphate use efficiency, you see this confirms the analysis of Müller that phosphate is a key factor that is really hindering biomass production in Africa. And so this is one element, but of course there are other causes and other opportunities to increase biomass production. But also, okay. Now, I would not only look at cropped areas. We should also look at woody crops, plantations, grassland, shrub, and covered areas. The grassland and covered areas are much larger in Africa than the other areas. So we should really think to consider not only cropland, but also other lands in Africa to increase biomass production and to draw out carbon from the atmosphere. Now, expected co-benefits. I think that an improved soil health, which includes improved lesser mineral deficiencies, it would help climate resilience, it will increase food security, it will contribute to biodiversity and improve livelihoods and prevent migration. I think these are just a few of the things. And these are the ambitions that we have. In 2030, we'd like to be in 20 countries, and 2050, we would like to see the twin regions concept being materialized in all countries. Startup activities would be lobby for support, so we're looking for fierce companions. Pilot project to clarify open questions. I think this is the call to all the research community to explore feasibility of the twin region concepts in participation with stakeholders, get a realistic assessment of potential to boost carbon sequestration by reducing nutrient deficiencies in soils of sub-Saharan Africa, assess co-benefits and risks, and I think there are others. But I think a more important thing is, if somebody listens out there, to launch a virtual youth exchange campaign to trigger the movement. So virtual meetings, compare their habitats, so young people get to know each other, but then a virtual contest, our vision of life in 2050 and how to make it happen. So that would be a starting point to get it going. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mark. This
Sorry
is a
for the time.
fantastic. It's okay. It was very interesting. This is a fantastic idea because it has quite important concreteness in terms of mechanism, which could be even more precise. But what is important here is that it is a citizens-led international cooperation movement. You see, because international cooperation has been captured fundamentally by multilateral entities, governments, etc. And citizens have not really been part of this in terms of implication. So what you are proposing is quite revolutionary, and it is a citizens-led international cooperation movement, which can reshape. A lot of discussions are being held on how can we reform global governance, and this is a concrete idea. I saw in the chat a comment on our intercultural imaginaries regarding soil compatible. I think that the expectations of the citizens evidently depend on the context, but somehow they connect to each other. And whatever imaginary exists culturally, there is the necessity to feed the family. There is the necessity. There is a conscious of the consequences of climate change. And as you know, Africa is a continent which is the most impacted by these issues without really producing at the level of the other regions. So thank you for this presentation. It was very interesting. And I think your baby will grow. It will. Okay. Good. So, Dr. Lu, I stand to be guided on how we move forward.
Then I think we will reach the end of this forum, Mr. Chairman, and I think you can conclude it.
Okay, thank you. So I'll conclude in 1 minute. I alluded to a small synthesis earlier when we had all these presentations. Let me thank all really spent long hours in being actively present. It's a signification of their commitment to the initiative, to the interest. So I would like to thank the Secretariat for the design of a strategy, highly consultative, and going beyond the design on thinking about its implementation. We have reached a point where maturity has been created. And I will end by a quote of a Spanish philosopher, whom I like a lot, Ortega y Gasset, who was saying that all the changes that can happen can be classified in 2 categories. The first category is about when something changes within the world. And the second category of changes is when the world changes. The world is changing, and I think that Per1000 is making sure at its level that the world is changing positively. Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup, Dr. Mayaki. Eh bien, sur ces mots de sagesse, nous vous donnons rendez-vous à nos membres demain. Nous enverrons le lien pour la réunion de demain ce soir. Et nous donnons rendez-vous à nos membres donc demain pour la réunion du consortium. Merci beaucoup à tous. Merci beaucoup, Dr. Mayaki. Merci à nos amis de Régénération Canada. Et merci à tous. Au revoir.